Hello, good morning everyone.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning. So, let's start today's session. So, today we are going to cover one remaining technique for partitioning of data, and then we'll discuss few of the issues in machine learning, and then we are going to conclude unit number 1. Right? So, let's revise what we did in the last session. So, in the last session, we have seen various methods for partitioning of data, and these methods include holdout method, k-fold cross-validation method, leave one out method, and bootstrap aggregating or bagging. So I hope you must have understood all those methods and how we partition the data and how we make use of that data, right, for machine learning algorithms. So today we are going to focus upon one more such technique, and that is a three-way data splits. Three-way data splits. So in 1996, one of the researchers, Ripley, he has mentioned that if model selection and true error estimates are to be computed simultaneously, the data needs to be divided into 3 disjoint sets instead of 2. So far what we did, we have divided the data set, original data set, into train set and test set. But what he mentioned that if model selection and if we want to really estimate the true error, right, and if we would like to do it simultaneously, instead of dividing the data into 2 partitions or 2 sets, it is important to divide the data into 3 disjoint sets. So what are those 3 disjoint sets? No doubt we are having training set. So what is a training set? It is set of examples used for learning. So training set is used to fit the parameters of the classifier or regressor, whatever may be our algorithm. So training set is used to fit the parameters of the algorithm. Okay. Next, we are having a validation set. So this new set was introduced, validation set. So once again, this set includes few samples, few examples from the original data set. And this validation set is used to tune the parameters of the algorithm. Tuning. So training set is used to fit the parameters, and then validation set is further used to tune the parameters of the algorithm. We will see what we mean by that. Okay, and the data set that we are using is test set. So once again, this set includes few of the samples from the original data set, right? And this test data set is used only to assess the performance of a fully trained algorithm, fully trained model, right? So this is how now we are going to partition our data into 3 disjoint sets. So there is no overlapping of the data in these 3 sets. These sets are disjoint. So we are having a training set, we are having a validation set, and we are having a test set. Training set is used to fit the parameters, validation set is used to tune the parameters, and test set is used to assess the performance. Okay. Now, why actually we need these 2 separate data sets, validation set and test set? What is the reason behind? If we are having only one set, that is the test set or the validation set maybe, okay, then the error rate estimate of the final model on that particular data set might be biased, meaning we may find the error that is smaller than the true error rate. Since the validation or the test set, whichever we are using as one, is used to select the final model. So there might be some issues with the actual error rate estimation if instead of these two sets, if we use only one set for testing the performance. And that is why it has been mentioned that instead of having only the test set to assess the performance, we should have one more validation set. And that validation set will help us to tune the parameters of the algorithm and to come up with a model, right, with the best hyperparameters. And further, that model can be tested with some unseen data set, that is the test data set. So we are going to look at the entire process pictorially. So if you see here on the screen, we are having 6 steps mentioned under these 3-way data splits. So if we are using 3-way data splits, then how we need to proceed to come up with a final model. That is what this diagram is depicting. So what we are going to do in the very first step? In the very first step, we start by splitting our data set into 3 disjoint sets. So this is my original data set. So I am having data along with the labels. So what I am going to do is, I am going to partition now this data in 3 disjoint sets instead of 2. And what are these 3 disjoint sets? I am having training data, I am having validation data, and I am having test data. Okay. Now, maybe the percentage of splitting might be 80, 10, 10. It might be 70, 15, 15, or even it might be 60, 20, 20. Right? So this is how we are going to partition our original data in 3 sets: training set, validation set, and test set. No doubt, associated with all these 3 data sets, we are having the known labels. Okay, we are talking about supervised learning. So we are aware of the outputs. We are aware of the labels associated with the data samples. Okay, now once we are having this splitting available with us in 3 disjoint sets, what next we are going to do is, in step number 2, we are going to tune the hyperparameters of our learning algorithm. So what we mean by that? See here, we have selected some learning algorithm. So let us assume, for example, we have selected artificial neural network, ANN, as our learning algorithm. Right? Now, what we mean by the hyperparameters for this ANN? You might be knowing, so we had a little discussion earlier regarding the ANN representation. So if you remember that, what we have in artificial neural network, we are having various neurons, right? And we are having the various levels, right? So we are having layer 1, layer 2, layer 3, and so on in artificial neural networks. So what are the hyperparameters? Hyperparameters are the parameters those actually define the structure that is being used, right, for the learning algorithm. So learning algorithm to be used is ANN, but I may use different parameters for that ANN, meaning I may use a simple perceptron, I may use 2 hidden layers, I may use 5 hidden layers in ANN, I may use number of neurons in every layer. So I may use 10 neurons per layer. I may use 5 neurons per layer. So these are the parameters, those we need to set, right, before we start our algorithm, before we start our learning. Okay, so these parameters are known as the hyperparameters for that learning algorithm. So these parameters we need to decide. So in step number 2, what we are going to do is we are going to select these hyperparameter values manually, right? And we'll be having different settings of those hyperparameter values. What I mean by that, if I'm using ANN, I may have the first set of hyperparameter values like one input layer, one hidden layer and one output layer. So overall 3 layers, one input layer, one hidden layer and one output layer. That might be my first setting. In the second setting, I may say that I am having, say, one input layer, 2 hidden layers and one output layer. So this is another kind of setting. Similarly, I may have one more such kind of a setting. So whatever may be my setting, I am going to set those hyperparameter values. And based on these, right now we have selected 3 different hyperparameter settings. So based on these 3 different settings, my learning algorithm will learn differently, right, this data. So my learning algorithm, based on the selection of hyperparameter values, learn from this training data. So as I am having 3 different settings, here I'll be getting 3 different models. So in step number 2, what I am going to do is I am going to experiment with various different sets of hyperparameter values for the learning algorithm. Okay, and now after experimenting with the training data, I am fitting the model. And this is how I come up with 3 different models, right? So that is what my step number 2. So I am trying to tune now my hyperparameter values. Are you getting me? If you have any doubt, please feel free to ask the doubts. Is there any doubt so far? Have you understood this concept?
Ma'am, please repeat ANN.
Okay. So in ANN, see, this is just one example that we are using ANN as the learning algorithm, not necessarily ANN. It might be any learning algorithm. Okay. And if we consider any learning algorithm, we are having few hyperparameter values. If I go with k nearest neighbor algorithm, then the value of k would be the hyperparameter. So if I am having 3 different experiments, I will have 3 different values of k, right? And based on these 3 values of k, I am going to learn. In ANN, what happens? It is artificial neural network. So what we have is, we are having various layers of neurons in artificial neural network, right? So depending on the application, in fact, we decide how many neurons per layer are required and how many layers are required. So we experiment with those hyperparameters. We are going to focus upon this ANN in detail, right, afterwards, okay, in unit number 5. But still I am giving you some idea. Okay, so in ANN, 3 important things are, we are having input layer of neurons. So neurons means we are having, see, something like that. These are the neurons. So these neurons are getting the inputs. These neurons are connected with some other neurons in the hidden layer. So we are having these kinds of connections. Right? And further, we are having the output layer. So once again, I am having the neurons. and once again these hidden layer neurons are being connected to these neurons, and finally we are getting the output, right? So this is one structure of ANN. So I may have different parameters for implementation of ANN, right? So the number of neurons in the hidden layer. Right now we are depicting here only one hidden layer, okay? But it is not always the case. I may come up with one hidden layers, two hidden layers, three hidden layers, whatever it may be. Correct? The number of neurons in the hidden layers, that parameter may also change. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to tune those parameters. We want to find out which parameters are actually giving us the good results, right? And that is why we are selecting various hyperparameter values here, right? So as I mentioned, one setting might be one input layer, one hidden layer and one output layer like this. Another setting would be one input layer, two hidden layers and one output layer. In one more setting, I may have one input layer, three hidden layers like this and one output layer. Also, I may vary the number of neurons in each layer, each hidden layer, right? So, these are the parameters, those I am going to decide. Okay, so in various experiments, I'll be having different parameters, and based on these different parameters, my learning algorithm is going to learn from my training data, and this learning algorithm will provide me the model. Okay, so if I am having three different settings, I'll be getting three different models. Right? Are you getting me? Yes. Whether the doubt is clear? Whether I have given the answer to your question?
Yes, ma'am.
May I proceed now?
Yes, ma'am.
Fine. So this was our step number 2. So we are trying to tune the parameters, and based on the number of settings with respect to the hyperparameters, we come up with various models. Now, in step number 3, here comes the role of validation data set. So what we do is, with respect to every model, these are now 3 different models those we have created in step number 2. So with every model, now we are going to make use of this validation data. So we are having this validation data. We are making use of this validation data with every model. So obviously this validation data is not seen earlier, right? So my model, every model will predict the result for this validation data. So whichever are the examples in my validation data set, my model is predicting the output for every sample in my validation data set. And also I am knowing the actual labels for the validation data set. So predicted labels and the actual labels. So if my model is predicting the labels for the validation data, I am having those predicted labels with me, and also the validation labels are known. So based on these two, or comparing the predicted label and the validation label, similar to whatever we did earlier, right? I am going to assess the performance of my model. Say for example, right now I am having performance metric as the accuracy. So let us assume that based on this model number 1 is computing, or this model number 1 is created based on this set 1 of hyperparameter values. This model 2 is created based on another set of hyperparameter values. And this model 3 is using some other set of hyperparameter values. Now, what will happen? Every model is different. So every model is predicting the labels using the validation data set, and every model is giving me some performance. So now I am looking at the performance. Suppose this model 1 is giving me 70% accuracy, right? This model 2 is giving me say 90% accuracy. This is just the example. And this model 3 is giving me say 78% accuracy. Let us assume. Okay, now I'm having all three performances with respect to all three models, and these three models are different because we have used different hyperparameter values. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to compare these performances, and I'll be picking up the model which is having the highest performance. So here in this case my model number 2 is giving me the highest performance out of these three, right? So I'll be picking up this model as the best model, right? So whatever are the hyperparameter values associated with this second model, I'll say that these are the best hyperparameter values, right? And I'll be picking up that model. Are you getting me? Is there any doubt so far?
No, ma'am.
Fine. So now we have done with selecting the best model out of these three. Okay. Now what next we are going to do is we are going to combine now this training data and the validation data together, so that we can have comparatively bigger data set now, right? So we have selected the best parameters along with the learning algorithm, and now what we are going to do next is we are going to combine the training data and the validation data together, so that or to increase our data now. So it is possible to, if I increase my data set, then it is possible to have more generalization of the model. And that is why what we are going to do is we are combining now these two data sets, and once again whatever learning algorithm with whatever best hyperparameter values those we have selected, we are now trying to input this entire data set to this learning algorithm along with the best hyperparameter values, and now my learning algorithm will try to fit the model based on this entire data, right? So my learning algorithm will now come up with one model, okay, by fitting all this data into whatever is the set of parameter values those I have provided. Okay, so this entire data set is being fit to come up with the model. Now I am having this model now based on the best hyperparameter values and comparatively bigger data set that includes training data and validation data. Okay, now I am having one more data set available. So whatever is this model is now being presented with my test data set in step number 5. So this test data set is being presented to the model, and model is predicting the labels for the test data set. I know actual labels of the test data set. So once again I am coming up with the performance. Right? Now, so I come to know, or it is possible for me now in step number 5 to assess my model with the best hyperparameter values, right? And I can find out how good my algorithm is working. How good my algorithm is working. And this performance is typically the unbiased performance. Why? Because we have not used any seen data. We are using entirely different data, test data, that is not seen earlier, right? and this new data is being presented to the model, right? And this will help me to estimate the generalized performance of my model, right? So to estimate the generalization performance of my model, I am using now this test data, which is unseen data, totally new data, and my model is going to predict it, and I'm assessing the performance, and this performance is usually the generalized performance of my model. So in fact, I have done here with the performance assessment. Okay, now I am done with all the experiments. I have selected the best hyperparameter values. Once again, I tried to find out the generalized performance of my model. So I am done. So finally, what I am going to do is, as I am done at this step 5, I will select now all the data, original data, this data, once again, right? Because there is no harm in using more data now, right? I have done with my experiments and I have already assessed the performance of my model. So what in this step number 6 I'm going to do is, I'm going to collect all the data together once again, original data, the same hyperparameter values I am making use of, the same learning algorithm I'll be making use of, but now this model, or rather this learning algorithm with the hyperparameter values, will learn now even bigger data set, right? Even bigger data set, and once again we'll try to fit the model based on this bigger data set now, right? And once again I'll be coming up with a model, and this will be treated as my final model. So with this I'm done with the process, and now whatever is the real data that comes in, my model is ready with me to predict any real-time data henceforth, right? So in 3-way data splits, we are undergoing all those steps till we come up with a final model, right? So in machine learning, the learning algorithm may differ. Based on the learning algorithm, we may need to set the hyperparameters, right? But the entire process that we are following is similar. So whenever we come up with the final model, we say that we have built the model, we have built the application. So once now our model is ready with us, whatever may be the real world data that is coming in future, it is possible for us to predict that data, right? So it is ready for real world use now. Okay, and many times in building the machine learning applications, we are making use of these 3 different data sets: training data set, validation data set, and test data set, and we follow these steps to build our final models. So this is what we say, it is a 3-way data split. I hope you must have understood. If you have any doubts, please let me know.
Ma'am,
Yes.
in step number 3, the performance is measured, but how this best model is chosen? Means we have to choose, or it automatically choose this?
No. See, for every model, we are computing the performance. Computing the performance means if it is classification problem, then we are checking how many samples are correctly classified and how many samples are incorrectly classified. So obviously, we are preparing the confusion matrix here. And based on that confusion matrix, right, we are computing the performance. So here we are saying that we have chosen the performance measure as the accuracy, right? So how many samples are being correctly classified, those we are considering. Okay? So depending on that, automatically I'll get this performance based on my performance metric. So for all these 3 I'll be getting this performance, right? So I'm going to compare now the performance simply. So whatever is the maximum performance that I'm getting, I'll be selecting that model as the best model. That's all.
Okay, ma'am. And ma'am, in step number 6, what is data? Means it is a external data, no?
This data is this original data that we had earlier. In step number 1, whatever data we had, the
Means
entire
on
data.
that data we have used again.
Yes, to
Okay,
come
okay,
up with a final model.
okay, okay.
Okay. Can I proceed?
Yes, ma'am.
Fine. Now, this is one more picture depicting the same process of three-way data splits. Okay, so later on you may watch once again the video and try to interpret this figure. Okay, this is the similar kind of uh, figure. So here we have mentioned the steps in distinct way. Here everything is integrated together, right? So just try to understand whatever is mentioned in this figure, right? So I'm giving you this homework. Just try to understand this figure. All these 6 steps are being included in this figure also. So this figure also demonstrates the three-way data splits and the entire flow, how we create the final model. Okay, so as I mentioned, here are the different experiments. ANN is being used and number of layers are different, number of neurons are different, so hyperparameters are different, right? Here instead of 3 models we are having here 4 models. So I would recommend you to go through this particular representation of three-way data splits and try to understand. Okay, fine. Now let's proceed with few issues in machine learning. So as we have gone through lots of basics, fundamental concepts related to machine learning in this unit number 1. So we are having some issues in machine learning, those we would like to answer. And during this course, whenever we go for learning various different kinds of algorithms, we are going to comment upon, or we are going to find out the answers for these issues. Okay, so the first issue that we may have is, what are the good hypothesis spaces? We know what we mean by hypothesis space, right? We know what is hypothesis. So given the data, we need to identify what kind of hypothesis space, what class of algorithms are actually suitable to solve this problem, particular problem. So we need to answer this question. What are good hypothesis spaces with respect to some given problem? We need to answer, or we need to find out the algorithms that may work well with the hypothesis spaces, those we have selected, right? Also, we need to think of optimizing the accuracy so that we can generalize our model and our model will predict the future data points with maximum accuracy. So we need to think of several ways to optimize the accuracy, to maximize the accuracy of our model. Also, we need to think of how can we have confidence in the result. So once we have done with the selection of the hypothesis space, the algorithms of the hypothesis, right? We have found out the how we can optimize the accuracy of our algorithm. then also we need to make sure that whether we are confident that in future, whether whatever may be the data points, those are presented to my system, how confidently my algorithm is going to respond. What would be the confidence in the results, right? So that also we need to think of. Further, we also need to look at whether the learning algorithms, those we are using, are computationally efficient or those are computationally intractable. So in computer science, the meaning of this word intractable, I don't think that you are not from the computer science background, and that is why simply I would like to mention what is the meaning of intractable algorithms, right? We may have different kinds of algorithms in computer science to solve the problem, okay? And the algorithms are being assessed by making use of one term that is called as complexity of the algorithm or efficiency of the algorithm. So few of the algorithms are taking polynomial time for execution. Few algorithms are using non-polynomial time, or they are taking non-polynomial time to execute, right? So obviously the algorithms, those are taking polynomial time, those are more efficient than the algorithms, those are taking non-polynomial time for execution. So whichever algorithm that we are proposing to solve the problem, right, we need to look at whether that algorithm is computationally efficient. If my algorithm is computationally intractable, meaning my algorithm is taking too much time, it is not using polynomial time to compute, to reach to the final solution, then I need not prefer such algorithms. Those are not efficient, right? So while dealing with the algorithms, we also need to think of whether my algorithm is computationally efficient, my algorithm is computationally tractable or intractable. If my algorithm is computationally efficient, then I need to prefer to use that algorithm, because in minimum amount of time I can expect the result out of that algorithm, right? So these are few of the important points those we need to consider while building any machine learning application. And in subsequent units, whenever we are going to focus upon, right, different kinds of algorithms under machine learning, we are going to talk on these kinds of points. So these are important issues, those need to be considered, right? These are the important issues, those need to be considered while building the machine learning applications. So we need to think of, once again I am repeating, we need to think of the hypothesis spaces, we need to think of the algorithms, those work well with the hypothesis space. We need to think of the accuracy with respect to the future data points. So how well it is possible to generalize our hypothesis. So we need to think upon that. We need to understand what is the confidence that we have in our hypothesis. So how well my hypothesis will perform, what is the confidence that my in future in real world scenarios. Also we need to think of whether my algorithm is computationally efficient or it is not efficient. So based on all those points, in fact, we need to pick the best possible algorithm. So during the discussions, we are going to focus upon, or we are going to consider all those issues, and we are going to pick up the best model that is suitable for solving the problem. Okay, so with this actually we have done with our unit number 1. So let me summarize what we have studied in this unit number 1. So initially we had introduction to machine learning. We have seen various definitions of machine learning. We have seen various related concepts also. What is meant by data science, what is machine learning, what is deep learning, what is artificial intelligence, right? Where this machine learning stands, and many such related concepts. We talked about history of machine learning. We have seen lots of applications under machine learning, right? Then we have seen the types of learning algorithms, wherein we discussed about the supervised learning mechanism, unsupervised learning. We have seen, or we have just introduced the concept of reinforcement learning and the semi-supervised learning. Then we discussed various terminologies in machine learning. So we talked about the feature space or the instance space. We talked about hypothesis space, inductive bias, and so on. Later, we discussed about the performance evaluation of machine learning algorithms, right? So under that, we have seen how to evaluate the performance of regression algorithms. We have seen how to evaluate the performance for classification algorithms by making use of confusion matrix, right? Also, we have seen how to evaluate the performance of the unsupervised clustering kinds of algorithms, right? So depending on the type of task that we are doing, we are having different performance measures, and we need to make use of those performance metrics to evaluate the performance of our algorithm. To evaluate the performance of our algorithm and to build the machine learning applications, the most important thing is we should have enough data with us. And if we are having the data, we need to use the same data in the building process. We need to make use of same data, right, for building the model, for tuning the parameters of the model, and also to test the performance of the model. So there are several ways to partition whatever data is available with us, and that is why we have gone through various data partitioning methods also. Those will help us to come up with the disjoint data sets, right? And we have seen the entire procedures, how we are going to make use of those different data sets to come up with the final models, right? After that, we have seen the issues in machine learning, right? And further, we are going to focus upon how to deal with those issues. So with this, we are going to conclude our unit number 1. If you have any doubts, please let me know, right? I have tried my best to make you understand the very basics of machine learning. And based on these basics, in fact, we are going to discuss lots of algorithms under machine learning in our subsequent units. In unit number 2, in the next session, we are going to start unit number 2. So in unit number 2, we are going to focus upon regression algorithms and decision tree algorithms, right? So in detail, we are going to have the discussion about the regression algorithms, various kinds of regression algorithms, right? We are going to look at how to optimize those algorithms, and also we are going to discuss the decision tree algorithm in the next unit. Also, in the next unit, we are going to discuss few of the case studies and the applications relevant to your respective branches of engineering. Okay, So if you have any doubts, please let me know. Otherwise, we are going to conclude the session. Any doubts?
Ma'am, that issues with machine learning, that first three
Yes.
issues, that first three issues you have mentioned.
Yes. See, what are actually the issues? Whenever we talk about any machine learning algorithm, right? We have seen these terminologies. What is hypothesis? It is actually the function that we may come up with. Correct? Na? After learning
Yes,
the
ma'am.
data. And we are having several such hypotheses in my hypothesis space. So collection of hypothesis is hypothesis space. Now, if I have given one kind of a problem, right? So I need to think upon what kind of hypothesis space I should select. Let me give you one example. What kind of class of algorithms I need to come up with? We had earlier also discussion with respect to this, right? So if I'm having some problem, whether I need to think of whether I should come up with some kind of linear function or whether I need to go with non-linear functions. If I need to go with non-linear functions, then what kind of algorithm? So if I have decided to come up with the non-linear functions, or if I have decided to come up with some polynomial functions, non-linear functions, whatever it may be. So that is decision with respect to the hypothesis space. Once I know what kind of hypothesis space I am going to make use of, right? There are lots of variety of algorithms. Those are actually giving me that kind of a function. Maybe if I am going with the non-linear function, okay, I may have different choices. I may go with the representation like artificial neural network. I may go with the representation like support vector machines, right? So these are various kinds of algorithms that may work with that kind of hypothesis space, right? So I need to think of whether should I go with SVM, whether I should go with ANN or something else, right? So that is how I'm going to select the algorithms, right? That will be most suitable for the selected hypothesis space. Further, what I need to do is I need to think of optimizing the accuracy. So how to optimize the accuracy, how to tune the parameters so that I can have more general model, more generalized model that will be suitable for my future data points also. So I need to perform lots of experiments, right? To tune the performance, to tune the hyperparameters for my representation. Just we have mentioned in the previous slide that if I'm selecting ANN, then there are various hyperparameters. Those I need to tune. So I'm going to tune those hyperparameters and I'll be coming up with the maximum accuracy. The best parameters, those are providing me the maximum accuracy. Right? Also, I'm having several algorithms. Those help me to optimize further so that they will give me the better results. So these are the issues. Those we are going to focus upon. I hope I have answered your question.
Yes, ma'am.
Anything else?
No, ma'am.
Fine. So I think you must have understood the concepts, and once again I would like to appeal you that all the videos are available on YouTube. So if you have any confusion, if you have faced any kinds of network issues, then once again go and watch all those videos. Those are available on our YouTube channel. And in case you are having any kinds of difficulties, please let me know. You may use the comment section in our Google Classroom, right? To ask the questions, to raise the doubts. Okay, so in the next session, we are going to start with unit number 2. So let's conclude today. Thank you very much.